Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Nico.
And this is Marcus.
And welcome to Porch Talk.
Talk.
Episode 13. We went over a lot of different subjects. The main one, though, being warming up before your exercise, because there's a lot of misconceptions that have been thrown around through the fitness community, and I really just wanted to clear the air on all of that, because it's a very, very important subject to me.
Yeah, following up on that, we talked about stuff going on in our lives. In particular, we talked about this activity that I had done in my entrepreneurship club the other day that was fairly impactful. If you guys apply it to your lives, you'll see a lot of really great results.
And along with that, we have a new Twitter and Instagram. On Instagram, our handle is porch_talk_podcast.
And on Twitter, our handle is @talk_porch.
So without further ado, this is episode 13. Marcus, brother.
What's poppin', Nico?
Nothing much. I was about to go to the gym before you texted me the time to record this.
Really?
Yeah, I'm kind of pissed, I'm not going to lie.
Why are you pissed?
Because I haven't done shit today, dude. And I'm like, man, exercise will get me going. And then you're like, hey, I'm free at 2:30. I'm like, fuck, dude. I was like, I was about to go to the gym right now, but then it would overlap. So
oh, damn.
It's all good. But this leads into a very good first topic of the day, because I don't think people warm up before they exercise for the most part. Like every time I've walked into a gym and I see people just come in, they just get right into their workout. And I'm looking at them like, one, you're probably going to get injured easier, and two, you're not even getting the most out of your lifts.
Wait, really?
Yeah. The bare minimum a warm-up should do is prevent injury. Like, warming up, it can get so extensive to the point where you can probably get like 10% more out of your lifts.
Okay. So the first part there, I feel like most people, they might jive with that. Like, the idea of stretching or running a bit before I start working. Most people, I think, should understand like, you don't want to pull a hamstring, so like you got to stretch.
Well,
but the second part,
even stretching isn't good to warm up.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Whoa.
The best way to warm up is to. Well, the whole reason to warm up is to get better recruitment patterns for your lifts. And better recruitment patterns means that you're using the muscles you should be using for the exercises you are about to do. Okay. Like, say you're doing a bench press, right? And you didn't warm up, and you're like, man, I feel it a lot in my shoulders, and my shoulders are kind of starting to hurt, Well, the whole point of warming up, or I call it prepping, is to get those chest muscles to activate better, get the mobility in your shoulders to where it won't hurt to bench, and it will allow you to lift more and better, but also gain more muscle.
Okay, so
because you're using the muscles in a better way.
I see what you're saying. So you said 10% more. You'll get out of that.
Yeah, roughly 10%. Yeah.
So kind of like just keeping with that example of bench pressing, and like what kind of things would you do to your shoulders, for example, to make sure that they rotate and move easier?
Okay, so what I would do for the whole for warming up, just for say a bench press, right?
Yeah.
I would, before I even get to the bench, I would do something to help retract and depress my shoulder blades. So when most people say pull something, like they row, they sort of shrug as they bring their back together. That isn't the way to row. You need to keep you shouldn't be shrugging. You should just be able to squeeze your shoulder blades back in together. And when you're under a bench, when you're bringing it down, you're sort of shrugging your shoulders up.
Yeah.
And it causes it causes more tension on your shoulders.
Oh, I see.
So that's what I would do, along with, say, some rubber band chest presses to help really, and focusing on squeezing that chest. It shouldn't be like a fast movement, and you shouldn't do it to fatigue either. Because I feel like if I say this, people are going to be like, I'm going to do like 20 sets of this to failure.
I gotta do 20 reps.
Honestly, you should. I only do probably 6 to 8 reps for the one set, and that's it. And then the last thing I would do is I would get a band or just a really light weight, and I would just start working on rotating my shoulders outward or rotating up and down.
Okay.
Just to get the shoulders moving, you know.
What are those called? I know, like flies. Do people call those flies?
No, that we don't. I wouldn't do a fly. I would do a lateral rotation. So for those, it's probably going to be a little harder to explain on the podcast. But you're keeping your bicep and tricep tucked into your body, and you're just rotating your forearm out away from you, and it helps with gaining more mobility in your shoulders. Again, if anybody has any questions about this, don't be afraid to DM me, because I did a terrible job explaining it. I can show you videos and stuff like that.
Don't discount that. I think that was halfway decent at least. You know.
But anyway, and once I get underneath the bar, I act like I'm doing a bench press without any of the weight. Like, I have my bar set up, I have all the weight I want to do, but then I just do 3 nice, fast bench press motions with my hands, just so my mind's ready. Hey, this is the movement I'm gonna be doing, and then I get into my lift.
Okay.
And I can tell you, once I did that, I broke my plateau of like a year and a half on bench press. I was only able to before I did that, I was only able to do like a 45 and a 5 for like 5 reps, and now I'm doing a 45 and a 25 for 5 reps.
You thought you maxed out. Wow.
Well, I don't even think I maxed out. I just didn't know how to bench properly, and that helped me bench better.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you thought that you were just done. You thought this was your limit, but you realized that there were just things of, technical issues, things that you could incorporate into your repertoire that would just help you perform better. And now you're there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
And I've been incorporating that with all of my exercises. I've learned how to properly recruit all the muscles I need for a given workout. So it's very, very important. I mean, and going back to the stretching, I think stretching is the worst thing to do before, especially lifting, because stretching, all it's doing is putting your muscles in a new range of motion.
Oh.
So say I'm sitting down and my legs straight out in front of me, and I'm trying to stretch my hamstring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Cool, I gain that new range of motion, but I have no control in that range of motion. So say I'm doing something like a straight leg deadlift, which is focused on your hamstrings. If I get to that new range of motion, I won't be able to control the weight, and I'll end up injuring myself. So it'll probably make you more injury prone, because you don't have that control in that new range of motion. And that's why mobility exercises are far superior before the workout, because it gives you strength in those ranges of motion.
Okay. So yeah, it really sounds like what I need, or what most folks would need, is somebody to be there with them, like, hey, we're going to be doing this workout, or just some kind of written instructions. We're going to be doing this workout. Before you do this, make sure that your body is prepared, and don't do these specific things, like you said with the hamstring deadlifts, or straight leg deadlifts, excuse me. You don't want to stretch out that hamstring too much in the opposite direction of contraction, because like you said, you don't have control.
Well, just when you're stretching, like say your warm-up is stretching, right?
Uh-huh.
The whole point of stretching in general is to give you a better range of motion. But when you stretch, you don't necessarily gain strength in that range of motion. You don't gain control of your body in that range of motion.
Okay.
So you can do a lot of like mobility exercises to help you with that, and help you increase your weight on your straight-legged deadlift. But I would not recommend stretching before any workout. So.
Got you, man. Yeah. Okay. I can think of a couple times when I've gone to work out, and like I get into the gym. It's just typically what I do. I just come in, I run for about, I don't know. It used to be distance. I used to say at least half a mile or something like that. But now it typically is like no more than 30 minutes. No more than but about half an hour I spend on the treadmill, and then I go about my workout once I'm fully drenched in sweat and heart rate's up, that's when I typically go into my workout. Tell me what I'm doing wrong there. Tell me what I should be doing if I'm going to lift to try to get upper body gains or something like that.
Well, what are your goals? I mean, there's a number of different things I need to know before anything. It's like, what are your goals? What do you want to do?
Okay, so like I said, upper body gains. I want to do bench press, curls, different dumbbell exercises, things like that. Work on tries as well as traps. Like I'm just thinking like the typical dude workout,
Well, no, I think you're not understanding what I'm saying. Is what do you want to get out of your exercise? Do you want to gain weight, lose weight? You want to get more muscular, slim down? Like what's
to get more muscular.
Get more muscular? Well, what you're doing wrong is you're doing cardio probably, because cardio or endurance exercise in general, it sends an adaptation signal to, hey, we need to get better at running, and the best way to get better at running is to lose weight, and the easiest way to lose weight is to lose muscle on your body, because that's heavier than the fat on your body.
Ooh,
so
okay,
it's when you're running, it's sending that signal like, hey, we need to get better, let's lose some of this muscle mass. And then you're going into the gym and you're like, hey, I want to gain this muscle mass. So first thing I would do is cut out running. And like I said earlier in the earlier episode or two, you need to do heavier weight, lower reps for about 2 to 3 weeks, because that's usually when the adaptation is, when you get completely adapted to a workout. So, and then after that 2 to 3 weeks, I would switch off and do like a higher rep, slower tempo, all that stuff. So, and just again, warming up properly, it would be the best way.
All right, man. So when you walk into the gym, like what let me ask you first, like what are your workout goals?
Well, right now, I'm not really worried about gaining or losing any muscle mass or weight, anything like that. I'm more focused on practicing movements, getting my posture as best as it can be.
Okay.
And just overall refining all my techniques. So I don't go into the gym and do any high intensity stuff or lift a shit ton of weight. I'm there. I might even say I'm doing squats one day, or my leg exercises squats one day. I might not even throw any weight on. I'll just do the bar and really focus on my movement and how I'm doing it to improve it, Whereas, let's say a month or two ago, I was really focusing on gaining weight, and that's when I was going a decent intensity, going real heavy, and I saw my weight go up probably 5 or 10 pounds over the 2-month period, and all my lifts went up probably 7%. So it all depends. Like when I walk into the gym, like right now, I'm really focusing on mobility. I'm doing a lot more mobility drills than I used to, and when I get into the workout, I'm really focusing on form over weight or anything like that. So
when you're doing your more recreational activities, like I know you shoot bow and arrow, archery, or you're doing skateboarding or anything like that, stuff like that can definitely be a workout.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So just talk a bit about what when people are just living their their daily lives, whatever level of activity they typically get at. Talk about what things they should do to prepare for that.
Well, if say you like walking a lot and you walk, let's say 20,000 steps every day. That's really high. You are more than likely burning a lot of calories with that walking.
Yeah.
10,000 is where people usually walk to maintain. So say you're walking 20,000. Or you're hiking. Let's say you're a hiker. I lied. We're changing it up.
I am a hiker, actually, yeah.
So you're a hiker. really what you should be focused on prepping beforehand is just making sure your hips are ready and stabilized. So I would do a couple like single leg movements, like single leg, touch the ground, come up, come back, just to help stabilize yourself, because that's really important when you're out hiking. So you won't fall.
Okay.
And I would also work on a lot of ankle stability too, like just making sure your balance and your stability is there. Say you skateboard or play soccer, that's a whole different story. Soccer, you're really focused on that explosion and the speed of the game. So you really want to be focusing on like high intensity interval training, a lot of power movements. So say I'm doing a squat, all right? Where power is generated is the transition from going down to up. So when you just get down to the bottom of your squat, it's how fast you can propel yourself back up to the end of the squat.
I was out working with some of my friends the other day, and this is something that my brother, football player, he's taught me many years ago. I've always done squats that way, exactly as you described them. And my friends, I got down, I hadn't done squats in a minute, so I was stretching a bunch, and then I did my first rep, and before I'm even like down again for the second one, they were like busting out laughing, just cracking up. So like I racked the bar, and I'm like, what? Like what did I do? Like I thought my pants ripped or something like really funny like happened. Now they were just cracking up because they said you went down so slow and then you just like jumped like a frog, and I'm like, dude, get off my back. That's how you're supposed to do squats. Like I'm you know.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your goal again, because you decelerating very slow is good for hypertrophy. It's good for muscle growth and all that stuff. And that from the bottom, how you exploded to the top, that's really good for power. But if you're not really focused on power, you don't have to go up as fast. It doesn't really matter if your goal is just to gain weight or gain muscle. Okay. I think that's fine what you're doing.
Okay.
Really focusing on that descent though is where all that muscle starts to grow, because I'll have to figure out how to explain this in a later episode, but just so you know, the eccentric or the down of the exercise is the best way to build muscle. So if you really want to build muscle, focus on that way down or the eccentric portion.
So what you're telling me is if I want to like build my upper body muscles better, I need to do like handstand push-ups. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
I'm just being silly.
I would say the best tempo to get more muscle definition or grow muscle is, I would say, a 1 second down. Say you're doing a bench press, right? So you're going down for 4 seconds, you're pausing for 1 second, and you're 1 second on the way up.
Okay.
So
that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
6.
Hold.
Yeah.
Push.
Yeah.
For a solid 1. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I like that though, because it incorporates a lot of like control elements, that you definitely need when you're doing these kinds of workouts. If you can't do that, like you said earlier in an earlier episode, it's about how many reps can you go till failure, till you have to compromise the system, so to speak, in order to get it up. You want to stop before that ever happens.
Yeah. I am against 2 failure exercises for the average person. Let me clarify. It's for the average person. I do not agree with going to failure every time. Now, where I see that happening differently is, say it's the end of the workout, or end of the exercise for you doing a certain muscle group. I could see that coming into play for like an athlete. But for the average person, frequency, I feel, is more important than intensity.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, man. That's good to know. Ah, man. It's been a long week, Nico.
Why is that? You ready for Thanksgiving?
I am ready for Thanksgiving.
I'm ready for Thanksgiving. I'm ready to eat.
I'm ready for all this working out I have to do after. Like, I feel like this is going to be a mad dash on the gym between Thanksgiving and Christmas, so that like you don't like get like a double holiday bonus. You know,
Yeah.
that freshman 15, man, it'll turn into a freshman 30 real quick.
Big tip for everybody. The best way to counteract Thanksgiving is to have a high metabolism. And with that, how to get that is through heavy lifting, heavy low rep lifting. High, like 5 sets by 5 reps lifting.
Gotcha.
It raises your metabolism so you won't have to worry about Thanksgiving. That's what I'm about to do for this workout today.
All right, man. Yeah, I'm just so sick this week. I had 2 big exams this week. One of them was just this morning. I got the first one back already, and I got a 100% on it, and I am just so freaking stoked. But this one that I took this morning, man.
You bombed it?
I definitely did not bomb it. My issue is I got 2 C's on the last 2 exams that we took. Both of them, I felt so confident. I felt like I was going to get A's on these, but I got C's on them.
See, that's the worst, because every time I feel like I failed it is when I pass it. So I know when I feel like I pass, I'm like, well, ready to retake this bitch.
So maybe that's what's gonna happen on this one. Like, this is the one that I'm the least confident about, and probably watch me get an A on it. Come next week, I don't know.
Hey, who knows?
We'll see that.
I think that's an interesting concept. Speaking on the thing of test taking, I think it's a very interesting concept that people think they are bad test takers. I was there too. I thought I was a bad test taker, but it's just we haven't refined that skill. I mean, you're not really bad at anything. You just haven't learned it to your fullest potential. You haven't had someone who is more knowledgeable in the area show you the proper way or the best way or the best way to do it. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I think I know what you're getting at. That's kind of the what's the phrase? The brain is a muscle theory. That, you know, if you want this thing to be stronger or quote unquote better at doing this particular math equation, or algebra in general, if you want to be better at doing algebra, the solution is to practice algebra. And you know, for a lot of things, that really, really does hold true. You want to know how to work this. You want to know how to solve a whole entire sheet of algebra equations. Practice solving entire sheets of algebra equations.
And I have 2 very good stories to go along with this. So it was just after high school. I was on my way to being a real adult, right? I had college and everything ready. Went into my first semester of college. Like, as soon as I got into my Bio 1 class, they were like, test on Friday. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I got this. Didn't study. I was like, this is nothing. Fail it. Absolutely bomb it. I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, might as well fucking drop out now. Plot twist, I actually did the next semester. But and
it's not fun,
at the end of that test, he was like, okay, test next Friday. I'm like, all right, I'm not fucking failing this again. I'm really putting my guns to it, and I'm going for it. I studied the whole next week, day for day, at least 2 hours a day. And 100% on the quiz. I'm like, just a coincidence, whatever. Next test, I fucking failed it because I didn't study. I'm like, I think there's a pattern here. If you study and you really, really put your mind to it and really learn the material, you're going to get it. And I said I was a bad test taker. I've always said that since I was in elementary school, probably. And just seeing how big of a difference between the two of me not studying and me studying my ass off, it's just insane to me how I could ever think that I was a bad test taker. It's just I didn't try. I was just being lazy. And the second story was I hated reading as a kid. I didn't like it. I was no good at it. I always had my mom read my book projects that I needed to do in elementary school. Yeah.
Oh.
And in middle school, when we had the summer reading log, I just wrote down random books and my mom signed off on them.
Dang.
I hated it.
Oh. Man.
After high school, I was like, man, I really want to read what like my the people I look up to read, right? So I've probably read 7 or 8 of the books that they've read now, and I'm in love with reading. So it's all a mental thing. You gotta practice it, and you really gotta put forth the actual effort to do it, to actually learn it. as opposed to just saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna like, I'm just gonna stop doing it."
I guess I can't do it.
Yeah. So that's a really
Oh,
interesting concept.
Absolutely, yeah. And that theory, was it muscle mind theory? I think that's what it's called. I might be completely wrong, but let's just call it that from here on out. Muscle mind theory, like the idea that like your brain is a muscle, and to learn something you just need to flex it out. That definitely works in a lot of situations, but there are times I feel like you typically see this when you get up into higher learning, where or like college, collegiate learning, stuff like that, or whatever you're if you're ever going to like teach yourself something, where like that type of stuff just isn't going to cut it. It's not about like repetition. It's more like system recognition or categorical recognition. Like you just need to be able to look at this and just know like, hey, this is a certain type of variable, and these types of variables go in these types of categories. You see this a lot in mathematics. You see this a lot in various kinds of sciences, where it doesn't really. It's not something that you can practice. You have to recognize it. You have to put like a filter over your eyes, so to speak. Like if you're a biologist, for example, you go out into the world. You're looking for different types of insects. You don't like. It's not like you can find or just a random insect, like a random ant crawling along the ground, and just say, okay, what variable is this in the algebraic equation? How much practice do I have to do to know? No, you just have to be able to look at this and identify its various properties. It has this many legs, it has this many individual body parts, a head, an abdomen, and what's the third one?
Thorax.
Yeah, thorax. Thanks. Head, abdomen, thorax.
That moment when you're in class and you know the answer, but you don't think you're right.
Thorax. Thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in general, you just got to be able to recognize. You got to be that kind of a machine that just like it sees something, it just scans the barcode, and that's all on a whole other level of like learning. But here's the awesome part about that. Where does that type of learning come from? It's not exactly practice of the same kind that like you have a whole bunch of formulas and you just run through them. It's more so you go out into the world and you get experience. Like you said earlier, you get that professional person to show you examples of different things that are in various categories, specifically because you know what the various categories are. You know what specific things you'll need to see to be able to put this particular insect into the arthropod category. I mean, all insects are arthropods, but you catch my drift. And if you see something that completely doesn't fit that, you know what you found. You found something completely new. You found something completely new. And it's all because of the categorical way of thinking, if that makes sense. I hope I've been a good enough.
That was very good. That was a very good explanation.
Thanks, man.
Hey, no problem.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So what was your topic that you wanted to talk about? I know we got a little off track with that.
Wow, who cares, man? It was gonna be something about history, but while we were speaking, I learned. I thought of something totally better. I totally should have said this from the beginning. Just yesterday in my club's meeting last night, entrepreneurship club, we did this amazing activity. It's called the Marshmallow Challenge. It's not no chubby bunny thing. It's not like put a marshmallow in front of your kid for however long, and if they don't eat it, they get two. No, it's not that. It's not that. Basically, what it is you and a team of 3 other people. You get 20 individual pieces of spaghetti, uncooked, a marshmallow, 1 yard of tape, and 1 yard of string, and you're competing against other teams of 4. And the goal is to build the tallest standing structure. Whoever has the tallest standing structure wins the prize. Ours was a bag of marshmallows. I won, by the way. Just throwing that out there because I'm a genius. But in any event, this event so much fun. Like I cannot oversell this type of a thing. You only have 18 minutes. Like it's like the regulation rule is only 18 minutes, and let me just give you the rundown of how this typically goes for every type of group, okay? Most people, here's what they do. They spend all their time building this, tall kind of rickety, but very, very tall structure out of the spaghetti and the tape. Most people don't even use the string or the yarn or whatever. But they spend all their time doing that, probably upwards of 16 minutes, putting together this tall thing. And then within like the last 2 to 3 minutes, they then go to try to put the marshmallow on top. And the weight of that just makes the whole thing fall apart and crumble or wobble, and it's just a mess. That's just about what everybody does with this. What this activity really teaches you, though, and the main lesson that I took away from it is that if you have a goal, the best way to reach that goal, all along the way, make small incremental things. You want to get this marshmallow off the ground? Make as small of a structure as possible that can stand and get this marshmallow off the ground. Okay, now that we've got that, only 2-3 minutes have gone by. What can we do to improve upon this structure? And now we've got this marshmallow about 3 or 4 inches off the ground. By the way, most times when these contests are run, the most difficult thing is to actually get a standing structure. It's not even about getting the tallest. Most groups won't even get something that functions because they spend too much time trying to build the tallest possible thing. Sometimes we watched a TED Talk about this afterwards, and the not the person who had invented this game, but a person who's facilitated it for a number of years. He said, "I can't tell you how many games I've seen where a small 1-inch pyramid wins." You talk about a $10,000 prize that they gave out to a 1-inch pyramid because everybody else was trying to build like a massive dinosaur looking thing, like, you know, trying to just. It's about what works, and then once you get something that works, you build on that. Another phrase that kind of goes very much in kind with this lesson from this exercise is, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. If you got something that works, if you got a structure that stands, you know, that's so much better than what the ideal structure would be, because that's going to take way longer than 18 minutes to do. You're going to have to hire some architects and some engineers and some graphic designers, and you ain't got time for that. You know, you just need something that works now. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you and ask you what your thoughts are.
That is wild. And I honestly, if I were to be in that challenge, I probably would have been the people to try and make the tallest structure. But I didn't even think about it that way. Like, hey, we got it off the ground finally. Now let's build upon that.
I know.
That's a really good perspective to have on life, though. I mean, not just thinking about like, hey, I don't have to be perfect. I just need to build on what I have. It's just like this podcast. We are definitely not perfect in this podcast, but we are starting to build on what we have. We're starting to get feedback and actually put it into practice to get ourselves better and better and better. And I learned a lot of this in sports, of course. I've learned almost everything life related into sports. And the biggest story or recollection I have of that was that transition from high school. I mean, the select soccer to high school. The skill gap was so big, and I made so much progress in a short period of time because I figured out where I was at and how I could improve upon that. So
yeah, man.
I mean,
if you ask anybody who's ever been in any kind of situation like that, even if they didn't realize it themselves, they're gonna tell you what they did, and that's basically what it's gonna be.
Yeah,
you know.
That's. I mean, I feel like everybody needs to figure out that skill for themselves. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, of course. But I know that once everybody starts to do that, we're gonna see, at least in the area we live in, with all the people we know, if everybody learned that skill, everybody's going to advance to tremendous heights from there.
Absolutely,
you know?
man. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, that's an ethic, so to speak. That the ethics are sort of guiding principles. And that ethic right there, incremental improvement, always incremental improvement. That ethic right there, like you said, it will take you to high places. It really will. It really will. Just to share this, after we finished the exercise and we watched this TED Talk, this guy was kicking all this knowledge. He talked about, he said the consistently most successful group of people are first graders. Not only do they tend to build the tallest successful structures, they build the most creative ones. I saw this one that was like a 3-legged alligator with like its nose up in the air. It was really sick. Out of freaking uncooked spaghetti noodles, tape, and yarn. These freaking kindergartners.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was insane, man. It was insane. But that tells you a lot about human nature right there, because they're little kids. They're not doing any politicking or power jockeying. You know, in this little club of 3 or 4 people, they got their heads on straight, man. On some things, they really do. Some of that stuff gets beat out of us as we go through life.
Yeah, that is for sure. All the corruption that your brain gets as you age, especially this day and age with social media and how prevalent social media is in life.
Yeah, man.
And all the news stories always showing you all the bad and hardly ever the good, you know. That is something good to talk about, because with how prevalent social media is in society, there is definitely a lot of things that are corrupting like the generations, like our generations and below, you know. And I feel like the more and more social media becomes like popular, I guess, as if it's not popular enough, right? It's just gonna get worse until something happens, whether it's we all revolt against social media and just stop it, or people start regulating, which I don't like either, because then people can just throw what they want in it. There has to be a way to get all this toxicity out of it, and all the, hey, pick a side, here's why you should be on my side.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like, I'm no super conservative person, but there's this one conservative that I love to listen to, and he put it this way. He said, you could have all the righteous and just laws that you would want in a country, but if you don't have a righteous and just people, you're never going to get good results. You know, if you want there to be less, like social media mobbing, or you want less like fake news or whatever spread, or whatever thing that you're about, get away, put your phone down, turn off the Twitter every once in a while. Follow us on Twitter, by the way. But you feel me? Like, if you actually want to, if you want things in that area of life to be better, do your part. Try to. If you want to have a political discussion, find a person who's like in front of you, who can breathe and who you can speak to, and talk with them there, face to face. None of this keyboard warrior internet BS. Where's that going to get you? Nowhere.
And people are so much more hateful on the internet too.
Oh Lord.
Because they would never say some of the stuff they say to your face.
Yeah, the anonymity, like that protects them, is the fact that it's some random person in the YouTube comments who just say whatever they want.
I think that's fucking stupid in my opinion.
I think it's hilarious.
Well, it's funny, but it's also stupid.
Yeah.
That is a thing,
I say, go ahead.
No, you go.
I say hilarious because like, oh, you actually thought like this was gonna be like super impactful. That's a good one, man. Like you thought that this person was gonna read their YouTube comments and be like, oh, this person said I'm a cuck. Oh my, that's the one thing I needed. That's the kick in the pants I needed to. I don't know. Like, it's just weird.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, some people do really take some of those things to heart.
Yeah.
And they don't even know the people. Like, the term cyberbullying is, I mean, it's a real thing, but I think it's fucking stupid. Like, there should be no reason for that to be a thing. And again, cyberbullying, bullying in general, it's kind of been over dramatized throughout the years, because back when my parents were kids, they probably went through more shit than that, and it wasn't like the technicality of bullying, but that's a whole different subject. But just the fact that people get empowered by that, like, hey, I'm insecure, so I'm just gonna rip on this YouTube channel to make me feel better. It's just fucking stupid to me.
Yeah, man. But forget about all that stuff about bullying. Oh god, it makes me sick. I totally empathize with the kid who was getting picked on. I mean, I think back to times when I was getting picked on a lot, but like you said, we kind of gerrymandered the language a little bit. The bullying back in the day was very specific things, and in a way they still are, like social ostracization. You know, you're kicked out of the group, out of the club, or you know, you're on everybody's blacklist, so to speak. And then physical, you know, attacks and stuff like that. Everything else kind of goes. It's just a part of socialization. That's how it used to be. Like, oh, getting picked on by other kids a bit is something you need to, you know, toughen up. And on some of those fronts, like that one in particular, I think that, you know, maybe adults who are around should, you know, like say, hey, knock it off. You shouldn't be doing that, because it's not a mature behavior. So in the interest of, you know, creating mature adults, we should want to curb that behavior. But at the same time, there has to be some kind of balance. Every little thing that comes out of a kid's mouth that another kid doesn't like shouldn't be policed. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is fucking
Because now
stupid.
think about what you're doing. You just taught kids that mature adults police every little thing that comes out of their mouth. And then they go out to the world and they meet a mature adult and they're like, what? You said that? You can't say that. And then we have a whole other problem, because now they believe that there is supposed to be an entity or a group or something like that that's supposed to police and patrol what people are allowed to say and do. It's like, no. And obviously, where do you think that idea came from? When they were on the playground and somebody policed every little thing they said and did. But you know, back to the project activity that we had in our club. One of the things we did is, you know, before we started, we had about a solid 2 minutes to strategize. Now, the way that it was conducted, our president, he didn't exactly like research on what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. So here's what my idea was. Okay, here's what we were gonna do. We were gonna build the spaghetti tower along the table. Okay, we're gonna build it along the table, super long, just like completely stretched out. One piece of the spaghetti, and then turn the table on the side. Exactly. And oh, look, tallest spaghetti structure. Clearly, put the marshmallow on top. Make sure it's all taped to the table. Sick. The way that he had explained it, he didn't tell us that it had to be a freestanding structure. You know, completely self-supporting. You know, besides the ground, of course. But
yeah.
The doing. So there was that. Another group, their idea was to tape the marshmallow to the ceiling and then build it down to the floor.
That's a good one.
So yeah, I know that is a good one. So the second that he said start, they started stacking chairs up, and they started going. Oh my god, it was so funny, because like he was just like standing there watching us do this for like a solid couple minutes, just like, what are they doing? And then I see him like realize like this is probably legal. So like he goes on his phone and starts like scrolling through the wiki page for this. Like, oh my god. And then he comes up, he said, okay, well, wait. You can't do that, and you can't do that, and you can't do that. It was so funny.
Oh my god.
But it is interesting just to see where everybody's mind goes when they get a challenge. You know, everybody's trying to think outside the box, you know, and just figure stuff out. I love that about people, man. Mm-hmm. I love that.
So what was your winning idea then?
Oh,
for the activity.
Well, let me step back a bit. At 18 minutes, one group did have a standing structure, and they technically won. Theirs was like, I don't even know, like a solid foot off the ground, which is pretty good. It was like a janky pyramid. That's the best way to describe it. But what the president did is, after he showed us the TED Talk, he gave us, I think, 3 or 4 more minutes to continue building the structure. And we ended up building like a giraffe-like thing. It had 5 legs, so to speak, and a tall, like, arching head that went up about 1.5 feet. But the issue was, when we were constructing it, we had the marshmallow on it, and we weren't thinking about it. The whole time that the marshmallow was on it, it slowly but surely, like, caused the head to droop down. Wow, after the weight of the marshmallow got to be a bit on the spaghetti, it slowly but surely started to droop down, and one of the tape joints that we had on there actually broke. So then when we had to like reattach it, it just wasn't as high as it was. So it was about to like 1 foot and 1 inch. And it was literally, we measured it. It was literally 1 inch higher than the competition's was. So that's their same janky pyramid. Technically they won the first round, but we won the second round. So what we decided to change was just add, each time that we made the main arm, or the main like neck of the giraffe, so to speak, taller, we put a new support on it. And as the sports got higher and higher, we had to say, okay, we're eventually gonna have to keep putting more legs on this. You know, that the incremental improvement of making it higher, you also need more support on each part. We decided like at a certain point we're gonna run out of pieces of spaghetti to support for each little piece that we're putting up on top. So we kind of just had to call it quits eventually, and put the rest of the spaghetti in the support in it. But in the end, yeah, we won. It was a lot of fun. We learned a lot. We learned about that ethic, that way to think, that thing that drives you forward, and I think it'll do well for us going forward as a club.
Oh, I bet. And how is the business going for the signs?
That is a long story, and I'm also gonna have to say a story for another time. If you'd like, our next guest that we have coming on, he's playing for this Sunday. He's actually the president of this club, Entrepreneurship Club, on Wright State's campus. I guess you could ask him. I have a couple things I do want to tell you about after we stop recording. Really, really interesting stuff. But for now, I'm just going to have to call it there on that issue.
And I think we are done, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez, how long have we been recording?
45 minutes. Nothing too crazy.
It did not feel like 45 minutes.
Nah, dude, it didn't.
Wow. Sometimes when you're just off in the world and you're focused on something,
I know.
Time just flies, man.
For those who don't know, we are in another new recording spot in my gaming room of my apartment. It's a lot smaller. I'm about to check the footage after this to see if there's any extra background noise, so bear with me. And yeah, that's the new recording spot.
I think I'm gonna do like a 360 on Instagram, just like show the area if you're cool with that.
Yeah, dude, I don't care. It's just a small little room. All right, cool.
Yeah, man. So I've been Marcus.
I've been Nico.
And this was Porch Talk. Thanks for listening.